Okay. Guess we should play some music while we get ready to go. Yeah. Greetings, salutations. Can y'all hear me? Greetings and salutations. Hold up. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Uh, just a minute. We are getting ready to go live with the. Said I was going to stream the town hall tonight from um, Pennsylvania and involving Vice President Harris. And that's what we're waiting on. How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing? Hope everybody's doing okay. Uh, yeah, so we're waiting for that. And I'm getting everything set up. I was just gonna check it and dip back out, but I was like, we got like 2, 3 minutes. So y'all just have to bear with me. Y'all are invited. Y'all are invited to the town square. And while we wait, I'll put you some music on while we wait. But y'all want to hear some Young Merc? Yeah. Let's see, where are we? Oh, there it is. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing? Conversations with TNathan, the earlier version. Say, getting ready for the town hall meeting. Listen to some music.
I'ma lose it. Now still a hazard on some dude shit. Boxing with the devil and I'm still undisputed. Plus I'm eating from the bottom like a starfish. Now I'm taking heads off like I was eating crawfish. Fly shit, I stick with the bird. They say I'm farfish. Leveled up and still got the glow like Tony Stark chest. Fuck the new era, bitch. You can't rap and just say that. Pay homage to spitters who made a way and paved it. When respect was earned and you had to work for your playbacks. Born in late June, but can't wait to got me a Maybach. They love seeing you take a L, but hate it when you bounce back. I want all the smoke. Pull up if you really bout that. I'll let this clip go. Reload and then spin around. Made a name, I'll turn it conservative.
I'm Dr.
In the loud. Sick of all of y'all dumb fucks. Killing my vibe, I can't have it. Everything I do super dope. Got me feeling like a straight trapper. Pistol with a red dot. End up in front of the lens like a paid actor. And I'll still kill your fave rapper. Tomorrow in the day after. Let a goofy try to rob me for cash. Pulp fiction, let her reach in the bag. Then I up it with the Glock in the mag. Sudden move, then I'm dropping his ass. 40 with the beam, he can attack. Through the front and then come out of the back. Buy his life and let him walk with the cash. Last off shit, a lot to be back. Never claim to be innocent. Just know that my hustle legitimate. If I said anything that offended you, just know that I really don't give a shit. Just know that it's facts of feelings, bitch. Go ahead and get matches a little bit. It still won't be a big pill to swallow. It's gonna be harder than the arithmetic. It's Young Merc, bitch, get it right. Got tired of them fucking my name up. Niggas wanna start fucking with me once they seen the way a nigga came up. Had to cut them off like my flow, cause I noticed they started to change up. Then they had a nigga brushing backwards. Started fucking my wave up. Big green, no soccer movie. Fuck you if you thought you knew me. Fuck y'all for that black face. Till this day I'm never rocking Gucci. Pop up on a nigga like a Willie and I'm on his head like he bought a shoey. Who the fuck is Alec Baldwin? I heard this motherfucker literally shot a movie. Doing fuck shit just for the sake of getting clout. We all know you really don't want the beef like
Donald
it's in
Trump
and out.
is
Biggest
increasingly
bitches usually be the ones with
and
the biggest mouth. I catch a fucking body
And in
and
the
walk
second
like I'm
term-
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come up, I couldn't even get a chance. And they thought I was playing. And they thought I was playing. Yeah. couldn't even get a chance. I told them I was gonna be next and they thought I was playing. They ain't gonna understand till they see me on the gram. Walk in they favorite store and blow about a couple bands. See me on the come up, they see me on the come up. Wait till they buy that magazine and see me on the cover. See me on the come up, they see me on the come up. Wait till they buy that magazine and see me on the cover. Remember the first time I spit, everybody was laughing. I started perfecting my craft and these niggas was napping. I told them I was gonna be next and they thought I was capping. And now they see me glowing up, they like this nigga rapping.
Hold on. And
you did. And you could be doing a number of other things.
we're gonna listen to it in the background because I like to do it. I want to hear the live, not the replay.
And so the issue that you raise, yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is
So hold
unstable,
on, let me
increasingly
shift.
unstable, and unfit to serve. And I don't necessarily think that everyone has heard.
The people who know Donald Trump best, the people who worked with him in the White House, in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, all Republicans, by the way, who served in his administration, his former chief of staff, his national security advisor, former secretaries of defense, and his vice president have all called him unfit and dangerous. They have said explicitly he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. That is why Mike Pence is not running with him again, why the job was empty. And then today we learned that John Kelly, a 4-star Marine general, who was his longest serving chief of staff, gave an interview recently in the last 2 weeks of this election, talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is. And I think one has to think about, why would someone who served with him, who is not political, a 4-star Marine general, why is he telling the American people now? And frankly, I think of it as he's just putting out a 911 call to the American people.
Can y'all hear?
Understand what could happen if Donald Trump were back in the White House. And this time, we must take very seriously those folks who knew him best and who were career people are not going to be there to hold him back. At least before, there were folks who we know what he would say, but they would restrain him. Imagine now Donald Trump in the Oval Office, in the Situation Room. He who has openly admired dictators, said he would be a dictator on day one. The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff has said he is a fascist to the core. So I think that when the American people reflect, especially those who are undecided, on who you should listen to, don't take my word for it. In fact, go online and listen to John Kelly, his voice, talking about what he thinks of Donald Trump 2 weeks before the election, because I think we all know, to your point, Anderson, it is close, but there are undecided voters who clearly, by being here, have an open mind, want to talk in a way that is grounded in issues and fact. And when they hear these facts, I think it compels a lot of people to be concerned about the future of our country with Donald Trump at the lead.
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who know him best on this subject should be trusted. Again, look at their careers. These are not people, with the exception, I think, of only Mike Pence. These were not politicians. These are career people who have served in the highest roles in national security, who have served as generals in our military, who are highly respected. Talking about the person who would be commander-in-chief, not to mention what we know and what they've told us about how he talks about the military, servicemen and women, referring to them as suckers and losers. How he demeans people who have taken an oath to sacrifice their life for our country. And I do believe, Anderson, that part of this is why, even just this week, I traveled this state and others with Liz Cheney, former Congressman member who was a very high-ranking Republican. She has endorsed me. Her father, the former Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, is voting for me. Over 400 previous members of the administration, from Ronald Reagan to both Presidents Bush to Donald Trump even, have endorsed my candidacy. And the reason why, among them, is a legitimate fear based on Donald Trump's words and actions that he will not obey an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. He himself has said he would terminate the Constitution of the United States and wants to earn your vote to stand again behind the seal of the President of the United States? No one standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America should be in that position saying they want to terminate the Constitution of the United States.
Let's get to some of our voters. I want you to meet a registered Republican who's very concerned about Trump's views on democracy and January 6th. She told us she's looking for a reason to vote for you, but is yet to make her final decision. Her name is Natasha Kwiatkowski. She's a student at Bryn Mawr College. What's your question, Natasha?
Awesome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking my question.
Thank you, Natasha.
And as someone who hasn't fully committed to either party, how do you plan to address the concerns of independent voters and anti-Trump Republicans like myself who feel left out of the polarized political landscape? And what specific actions would you take to bridge the political divide and create more unity?
That's a wonderful question. I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans. And I think, to the point of, in the spirit of your question, that people are frankly exhausted with what has been happening over the last several years, which is this environment that is suggesting that Americans should be pointing fingers at one another, that we are divided as a nation, instead of what I think you and I will speak for us, I think, who believe and know. The vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And I think that the American people deserve to have a president who is grounded in what is common sense, what is practical, and what is in the best interest of the people, not themselves. I started my career as a prosecutor. And I will tell you, I never in my career, and most of my career was outside of Washington, D.C., by the way. Only 4 years when I was in the Senate were in Washington, other than being vice president. I have never in my career as a prosecutor asked a victim or a witness of a crime, are you a Democrat or a Republican? The only thing I have ever asked is, are you okay? And I do believe that is what the American people deserve in their president, and not someone who makes decisions based on who voted for them or what is in their personal interest. And I reference that because, as we know, it has been revealed that Donald Trump, when he was president, during extreme disasters, when it came time to determine how those areas, those people who had been traumatized by extreme weather would get relief, he asked the question, did they vote for him? I believe the American people deserve better. And they deserve a president who is focused on solutions, not sitting in the Oval Office plotting their revenge and retribution.
Let me introduce you to Eric Swenson. He runs a service desk for an IT company in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. He's registered as a libertarian, describes himself as an independent. He says he's undecided. Eric?
Thank you, Anderson. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Eric.
So my question is concerning groceries. Grocery prices have gone up quite a bit in the last 4 years. And some people blame former President Trump. Some people blame President Biden. Who would you say is correct? And what would you do to bring prices down for Americans?
Thank you, Eric. And you're absolutely right. You know it. I know it. I think most Americans know it. Price of groceries is still too high. And we need to address it in a number of ways. One of my aspects of doing what we need to do to bring down the cost of living for working people and the middle class in America is to address the issue of grocery prices. Part of my background and how I come to it is probably a new approach grounded in a lot of my experiences as a former attorney general, where I took on price gouging. And part of my plan is to create a new approach that is the first time that we will have a national ban on price gouging. which is companies taking advantage of the desperation and need of the American consumer and jacking up prices without any consequence or accountability. So that is one way. But to your point, Eric, there are a number of issues that we need to address in terms of bringing down the cost of living. It includes what we need is a new approach that I bring to the issue of affordable housing, including, for example, rent. And again, I bring to it my experience, knowing what has been happening in terms of how corporations have been buying up blocks of property to diminish competition, and then rents get jacked up, and addressing that, both in terms of making sure that there is a consequence and accountability for that, but also investing in people's dreams of home ownership, knowing that for too long, frankly, both administrations in both parties, Democrats and Republicans, haven't done enough to deal with the issue of housing. And we need a new approach that includes working with the private sector. I say that as a devout public servant, working with the private sector to cut through the red tape, working with home builders, working with developers to create tax incentives so that we can create more housing supply and bring down the price.
Let me just ask you about price gouging. I looked at your plan. You talk about going after price gougers, and I'm quoting from the plan, on essential goods during emergencies or times of crisis. I get that. How does that help, though, someone like Eric with prices that for years the grocery prices just been high?
Well, first of all, Anderson, as you know, and obviously CNN has been covering extensively what has been happening in the state of Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. It's a real issue. I was Attorney General of California. I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in the country. I took this issue on because it affects a lot of people. And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that we need to actually deal with accountability when these, not all, in fact, most don't, but when companies are taking advantage of the desperation and the need of the American people. We saw it actually during the pandemic as well, where because of supply chain issues, there was a reduction of supply, and then they would inflate the price of everyday necessities. Not to mention, by the way, again, Donald Trump should be here tonight to talk with you and answer your questions. He's not. He refused to come. But understand that part of his plan is to put in place a national sales tax of at least 20% on everyday goods and necessities. And that, by economist estimates, independent economists, would cost you as the American consumer and taxpayer an additional $4,000 a year.
I want you to meet Carol Nakanoff, a political science professor at Swarthmore College. She's a registered Democrat who says she's leaning toward voting for you, has yet to make her final decision. Carol?
Hi, Carol. Thank
Good
you.
evening. Thank you for visiting us in Delaware County, Vice President Harris. My question is this. If you could accomplish only one major policy goal that required congressional action, what would it be and why?
Well, there's not just one. I have to be honest with you, Carol. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, but I think that maybe part of this point that how I think about it is we've got to get past this era of politics and partisan politics, slowing down what we need to do in terms of progress in our country. And that means working across the aisle. I've done that before. We did it around whether it be what we were able to accomplish with the bipartisan infrastructure deal or some of the work that we have done in terms of dealing with gun safety. But we've got to work across the aisle. And it is my commitment to work with Democrats, with Republicans, with independents to deal with a number of issues, whether it be what we need to do in terms of housing and creating legislation that creates incentives for that, what we need to do to reinstate the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do, whether it be what we need to do to actually invest in a substantial way in the industries of the future, in American-based manufacturing, in American-based industries where American workers and union workers have those jobs in a way that is good-paying jobs that gives people the dignity they deserve. All of those areas I plan on working across the aisle and with Congress, including the issue of immigration, which we've got to fix.
Let me ask you, you've talked about codifying Roe v. Wade. That would obviously require 60 votes in the Senate, a majority of the House. That's a big That's a big leap. We don't have that yet. If that's not possible to codify it in the House, what do you do?
I think we need to take a look at the filibuster, to be honest with you. But the reality of it is this. Let's talk about how we got here. When Donald Trump was president, he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did as he intended. And now in 20 states, we have Trump abortion bans that include punishing healthcare providers, doctors and nurses. In Texas, do you know they provide for prison for life? For a healthcare provider for doing the job that they believe is in the best interest of their patient? Laws, Trump abortion bans, some that make no exception even for rape or incest. One of the areas I specialized in as a prosecutor was crimes against women and children. The idea you would tell a survivor of a violation to their body that they have no right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. This is what's happening in our country. You all may have heard the stories. Women have died. Women have died because of these laws. And the suffering, I have to say, Anderson, traveling, for example, I was with Liz Cheney this week. She is unapologetically pro-life and will also tell you that she doesn't agree with what's been happening. I find that many people I've met who are pro-life have said to me, you know, I didn't intend that this would happen. I didn't intend that women who are suffering a miscarriage would develop sepsis, as has happened many times. I didn't intend that women would die. I didn't intend that there would now be restrictions on access to in vitro fertilization. I didn't intend that there would be an effort to limit access to contraception. So, you know, this is probably one of the most fundamental freedoms that we as Americans could imagine, which is the freedom to literally make decisions about your own body. And on some issues, I think we've got to agree that partisanship should be put aside. And I'll close with this point. I know it is possible because when you look at the midterms, in so-called red states and so-called blue states, when this issue of freedom was on the ballot, the American people voted for freedom.
This is Leanne Griffiths. She's registered with no party affiliation. She's a student at the University of Pennsylvania. She says she's leaning towards supporting you, has yet to make up a final decision because she isn't sure who's better for the economy. Leanne?
Yeah. Hi, Vice President. Thank you for being here today. Considering you have been in the position of Vice President for the past 4 years under the Biden administration, how can we expect you to deviate from the direction of that administration compared to your own? How can we differentiate your policy and your beliefs from that of Biden's?
That's a great question, and thank you. Well, first of all, my administration will not be a continuation of the Biden administration. I bring to this role my own ideas and my own experience. I represent a new generation of leadership on a number of issues and believe that we have to actually take new approaches. For example, what we talked about in terms of housing. My experience that leads to that priority includes what I did to take on the big banks around the foreclosure crisis when I brought billions of dollars to homeowners that were the subject of predatory lending. I know what home ownership means to the American people, not to mention what it meant to my mother, who worked very hard and saved up so that by the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. I bring to it my experience actually taking care of my mother when she was sick, and it was, as it turned out, dying from cancer. And so I know what it means and have the experience of taking care of an elderly relative, and I have raised children. And so I bring to my priorities and will, as president, a new approach and a new idea, frankly, about what we need to do to deal with the sandwich generation, which is what we call those folks who are literally in the middle, who are raising their young children and taking care of their parents, which is why my plan and approach says, hey, you shouldn't have to wipe out all your savings to qualify for Medicaid to be able to get support to hire somebody to help you cook for your parent or help them put on a sweater. I've done that. I know what that requires. You shouldn't have to quit your job in order to do the work that is necessary to take care of your children and your parent, because it's overwhelming to try to do it all. And so my plan is to have and allow Medicare to cover the cost of home health care for our seniors. These are a couple of examples, including what we talked about in terms of price gouging. And what we need to do in addition, and it's a new approach that I think is well overdue, let's invest in the small businesses of America. The woman who helped raise us was a small business owner. I know who small business owners are. I know what they do. They are the backbone of America's economy. And for too long, we've overlooked their value to the economy as a whole, much less to the economy of neighborhoods and communities. So that's why my plan, and it's a new approach, is about tax cuts for our small businesses so that they can invest in themselves and grow, and in the process, invest in communities, invest in neighborhoods, and strengthen our economy overall. So those are some examples. It's about a new approach, a new generation of leadership based on new ideas and, frankly, different experiences. I bring a whole set of different experiences to this job and the way I think about it than Joe Biden.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson.
Good to see you.
And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done. And I'm not going to shy away from saying, hey, these are still problems that we need to fix.
I want you to meet Jackson Weiss. He's a student at Drexel University from Flourtown, Pennsylvania, registered Republican, says he's leaning toward voting for you, but has yet to make a final decision. Jackson.
Thank you, Anderson.
Hey, Jackson.
Thank you for taking the time to be here, too, Vice President
You too.
Harris.
Thank you.
Regarding the rapid increase in the migrant population, how will you ensure that every immigrant is integrated into American society safely? What benefits and subsidies will you provide them with? And how long will these benefits and subsidies last for an individual? Most importantly, will the American citizens' taxes pay for these benefits and subsidies? And if so, how much money will be allocated?
Well, thank you, Jackson. Let's start with this. America's immigration system is broken and it needs to be fixed. And it's been broken for a long time. And part of what we need to do is always prioritize what we need to do to strengthen our border. I will tell you, I'm the only person in this race among the two choices that voters have. I've personally prosecuted transnational criminal organizations in the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career making sure that our border is secure and that we do not allow criminals in and we don't allow that kind of trafficking to happen and come into our country. And as my opponent has proven himself, he would prefer to run on the problem instead of fix the problem. You may know there were some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress working with others that came up with a border security bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. Those border agents are overwhelmed. They need the support. They need the backup. It would have allowed us to have more resources to stem the flow of fentanyl. I don't need to tell this state and people around the country what is happening in terms of the scourge of fentanyl and how it is literally killing Americans. It would have put resources into stemming the flow. It would have given more resources to prosecute, to investigate and prosecute transnational criminal organizations. It would have done a lot of good. Donald Trump got wind of the bill and told them, don't put it forward. He killed the bill because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. We have to have a secure border, and we have to have a comprehensive pathway for citizenship. And that includes requiring people, hardworking people, to earn citizenship and do it in a comprehensive, humane, and orderly manner.
Let me ask you about that. I mean, you talk about the bill that Donald Trump quashed. That was in 2024. You talk about the bill he tried to get passed in 2021. That wasn't able to get passed. 2022, 2023, there were record border crossings. Your administration took hundreds of executive actions. It didn't stem the flow. Numbers kept going up. Finally, in 2024, just in June, 3 weeks before the first presidential debate with Joe Biden, you institute executive actions that had a dramatic impact, really shut down people crossing over. Why didn't your administration do that in 2022, 2023?
First of all, you're exactly right, Anderson. And as of today, we have cut the flow of immigration by over half. In fact, the numbers I saw most recently, illegal immigration
But if it
is
was
low.
that
But hold
easy
on, let
with
me
that
finish.
executive action, why not do it in 2022, 2023?
Because we were working with Congress and hoping that actually we could have a long-term fix to the problem instead of a short-term fix.
You couldn't have done one and both at the same time?
Well, here's the thing. We have to understand that ultimately this problem is going to be fixed through congressional action. Congress has the authority and the purse. I hate to use DC terms, but literally they write the checks. Part of the issue is in order to really fix the problem at the border. I was just at the border recently talking with border agents. You know what they talk about? Yes, they are overwhelmed. They're working around the clock. And the other thing that they talk to me about, we need more judges down there to deal with asylum claims. We need more personnel down there to deal with processing. But Anderson, and that's where Congress kicks in terms of dedicating the resources to actually fixing the problem. We have dealt with it such that, to your point, we now, as of today, as of our visit, have lower undocumented immigrants and illegal immigration than Trump when he left office.
That's true.
But we need a permanent solution, and that requires bipartisan work.
Do you wish you'd done those executive orders in 2022, 2023?
I think we did the right thing, but the best thing that can happen for the American people is that we have bipartisan work happening, and I pledge to you that I will work across the aisle to fix this long-standing problem. I think the American people are demanding it on both sides of the aisle, and it's time we actually put the partisan approach to this aside. We know what can work.
Well, let's talk about this compromise bill that you want to pass if you're elected. You said that's going to be a priority. It includes $650 million in funding for the border wall. That's something Republicans wanted. That was part of the compromise. Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw was about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur, Anderson.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
This is Annalise Keene. She's from Philadelphia. She works as a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity. She's registered with no party affiliation. She says she's a Democrat. She's leaning toward voting for you, but said she's yet to make her final decision in part because of the conflict in the Middle East. Annalise?
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Vice President.
Good evening.
My question is, as president, what would you do to ensure not another Palestinian dies due to bombs being funded by U.S. tax dollars?
So I will say, and I think this is to your point, far too many innocent Palestinian civilians have been killed. It's unconscionable. And we are now at a place where with Sinwar's death, I do believe we have an opportunity to end this war, bring the hostages home, bring relief to the Palestinian people, and work toward a two-state solution where Israel and the Palestinians in equal measure have security, where the Palestinian people have dignity, self-determination, and the safety that they so rightly deserve.
What do you say to voters who are thinking about supporting a third-party candidate or staying on the couch, not voting at all because of this issue?
Listen, I am not going to deny the strong feelings that people have. I don't know that anyone who has seen the images who would not have strong feelings about what has happened, much less those who have relatives who have died and been killed. And I know people and have talked with people. So I appreciate that. But I also do know that for many people who care about this issue, they also care about bringing down the price of groceries. They also care about our democracy and not having a president of the United States who admires dictators and is a fascist. They also care about the fact that we need practical, common sense solutions from a leader who is willing to work across the aisle on behalf of the American people and not themselves. They want a president who cares about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body, understanding that we're not trying to change anyone's belief, but let's not have the government telling women what to do with their body.
I want you to meet Beth Sandberg. She's a realtor, a mom of 4 from Bella Cynwyd, Pennsylvania. She's a registered Democrat, says she's undecided because of concerns about anti-Semitism. Beth?
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Thank
Beth.
you for remembering we need to bring the hostages home.
Of course.
The rise of anti-Semitism and violence from anti-Semitism has risen greatly on college campuses and on our city streets in the last year. How would you combat this growing trend and protect our young adults?
Thank you, Beth. You are right, and I will say that we have seen a rise in anti-Semitism. It is something that we have to be honest about and we have to deal with. As Attorney General, I actually published a hate crimes report on a regular basis, and anti-Semitism was among the highest forms of hate in our country, and this was before October 7. And we know what we've seen since. Part of what we've got to do is talk with people so that they understand what are the tropes, what are the roots of what we are seeing, so that we can actually have people be more understanding. We need to have laws in place that make those who would commit crimes on behalf of anti-Semitism and hate, that they pay a serious consequence. We need to have the deterrence so that doesn't happen. We need to ensure that college students are safe in their school and feel safe to be able to go to class. But I'm going to tell you what doesn't help. Again, I invite you to listen and go online to listen to John Kelly, the former chief of staff of Donald Trump, who has told us, Donald Trump said, why aren't my generals like those of Hitler's? Like Hitler, who has referred several times, we've heard the reports for years.
Do you believe Donald Trump is anti-Semitic?
I believe Donald Trump is a danger to the well-being and security of America.
He has said that he's casting himself as a protector of Israel. Do you believe you would be more pro-Israel than Donald Trump?
I believe that Donald Trump is dangerous. I believe that when you have a president of the United States who has said to his generals, who work for him because he is commander-in-chief. These conversations, I assume many of them took place in the Oval Office. And if the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief, is saying to his generals, in essence, why can't you be more like Hitler's generals, Anderson? Come on. This is a serious, serious issue. And we know who he is. He admires dictators, sending love letters back and forth with Kim Jong-un. Talks about the president of Russia, and then most recently, the reports are that in the height of COVID, when most Americans could not get their hands on a COVID test, Americans were dying by the hundreds a day. He secretly sent COVID tests to the president of Russia for his personal use. So again, this election in 13 days is presenting the American people with a very significant decision.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1,
And
2, 3.
on the one side, on this issue of who is going to model what it means to use the bully pulpit of the President of the United States in a manner that in tone, word, and deed is about lifting up our discourse, fighting against hate, as opposed to fanning the flames of hate, which Donald Trump does consistently. I'm going to tell you, we are an incredible country, and we love our country. Y'all wouldn't be here unless we love our country. And there are certain things where we've just got to come together and realize that we do believe in the importance of healthy debate on real issues, but there are certain standards we've got to have. And, you know, another point that even John Kelly talked about, I believe, and many have, is January 6th, where you have the President of the United States defying the will of the people in a free and fair election and unleashing a violent mob who attacked the United States Capitol. 140 law enforcement officers were attacked. Some were killed. And so I say that to say the American people deserve to have a president who encourages healthy debate, works across the aisle, not afraid of good ideas wherever they come from, but also maintains certain standards about how we think about the role and the responsibility, and certainly not comparing oneself in a clearly admiring way to Hitler.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll have more from the CNN Presidential Town Hall with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Okay. Okay. Um, while we're taking a break, yeah, y'all can hear it. Y'all can hear my headphones, can't you? Well, I'm taking a break. First, what's up, main page? So you all heard my conversation with Nick with Metal Melter. Yeah, we're talking about going to Alabama on March the 6th through the 9th for the Freedom Fund March. So trying to get the details of that worked out. Plus, I had to straighten him on a video I made that he misheard. But it's fine. I turned off the sound on one board and not the other board, but it's fine. The other board, Tyra was trying to read my lips, so I was like, "I just asked. I'll tell you." Um, yeah, we're getting standard political town hall right now, and this reminds me of why I hate our present system. Period. And don't get me wrong, there is no doubting that Kamala Harris is the best person for this job out of the two of them, but they're still politicians, and they have a tendency to, when you should just walk into the problem, they spend more time avoiding the problem than actually walking into the problem. If you just walk into the problem, we know the problem. And I think that's the part that insults me about all politicians, that somehow they think they're smarter than everybody in the peanut gallery. We can understand the problem. You know, I can understand that there's been a border perceptional crisis in this country. My solution is to deal with the foreign policy that led to it, but people don't talk about that. But I hated that answer. I hated that answer because it was rooted in a dismissiveness that is going to be one of the things I talk about on November the 6th. But I don't want to confuse people because we can still have political discord without having racism involved in it. So even though I don't like like I told you all, I was watching News Nation, and they were talking about she's Black Jesus. Nobody ever said she was Black Jesus. I'm insulted that a white man said that, and I'm going to eviscerate him later on a video. But I was insulted that a white man said that we think of Kamala Harris as white Jesus. That's not true. That is so far from true. But we will deal with that later. Um, is this live? Yes, this is live. And like I said, the reason I'm not playing the audio. I mean, the reason I'm playing the audio and not the video is because I can play the video later, but I wanted to get it live, and CNN is playing it live now. And if you know CNN blocks things out from being live streamed unless I would have set the camera up in front of the television, and I didn't feel like doing that. But I will play it if you need some visual cues, or I might play it later to dissect even more where I can stop and go. But I wanted to, yeah, they let you play commercials. I wanted to get it recorded and out there so we can have a dialogue about it later tonight in conversations with TNathan. Yeah, so we'll have that dialogue later, but I just wanted to have it out there um, and on the record. They're playing commercials right now. So yeah, I didn't like the answer about immigration. I also I would not care if you walked into the town hall and it was all about attacking the threat that you say Donald Trump poses to democracy.
And we're back with Vice President Kamala Harris. I want to ask you about something I read. I read that one of the first phone calls you made after President Biden announced that he was dropping out was to your pastor. And I'm wondering, if it wasn't a confessional, if you could say what that conversation was like.
Well, my pastor, Reverend Dr. Amos C. Brown of Third Baptist Church, it was an extraordinary day that Sunday when the president called me, and I instinctively understood the gravity of the moment, the seriousness of the moment. I didn't predict or know exactly how that day would play out, and obviously now it's been 3 months since I've been at the top of the ticket, actually 3 months as of yesterday. But I just called him. I needed that spiritual kind of connection. I needed that advice. I needed a prayer. And there's a part of the scripture that talks about Esther and a time such as this, and that's what we talked about. And it was very comforting for me. And
do you pray every day?
I do pray every day. I do pray every day, sometimes twice a day. I grew up. So we grew up a little neighborhood church in Oakland, 23rd Avenue Church of God. And I was raised to believe in a loving God, to believe that your faith is a verb, you know? You live your faith. And that the way that one should do that is that your work and your life's work should be to think about how you can serve in a way that is uplifting other people, that is about caring for other people. And that guides a lot of how I think about my work and what is important.
Let's go to the voters. I want you to meet Joe Donahue from Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He works in customer service for a local retailer. He serves as a local election official. He's a registered Republican who says he's undecided, doesn't agree with your stance on abortion, but he is concerned about what he calls Trump's demeanor and actions on January 6th.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, and thank you, Anderson. Madam Vice President, everybody as human beings, we're not perfect. We have our flaws. We make mistakes. We have our weaknesses. And the office of the presidency can sometimes bring those weaknesses out in ways that the incumbent may not expect. What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
That's a great question, Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect, so let's start there. And I think that perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives. My team will tell you, I am constantly saying, let's kick the tire on that. Let's kick the tires on it. Because, listen, as I mentioned earlier, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a courtroom prosecutor. I've tried everything from low-level offenses to homicides. And I learned at a very early stage of my career and adult life that my actions have a direct impact on real people in a very fundamental way. When I was Attorney General of California, I was Attorney General of what is the 5th largest economy in the world, and acutely aware that my words could move markets. So I take my role and responsibility as an elected leader very seriously, and I know the impact it has on so many people I may never meet. And that is why I engage and bring folks around. So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess. And some might call that a weakness, especially if you're, in an interview or just kind of, being asked a certain question and you expected to have the right answer right away. But that's how I work.
I don't think I've ever heard the former president admit a mistake. A lot of politicians don't. Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
I want you to meet Pam Thistle. She's from Winmore, Pennsylvania. She's a realtor. She's a widow. Her husband, Mike, died just a year ago. She has 2 daughters in college. She registered with no party affiliation and says she's undecided. She has concerns about how you would handle the economy. Pam?
Thank you. And thank you, Anderson. And happy belated birthday, too.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you. Yes. And I'm really appreciative for you to be here and get to know you. When you talk about rich people paying their fair share, can you be more specific?
So that's what it boils
Income
down to.
taxes are already on a graduated scale, where the more you make, the higher percentage you pay in taxes. So the rich are paying a disproportionate amount in taxes as it is. Over 40% of Americans don't pay any income taxes. Also, the really high earners may move their money offshore if there are disincentives in the U.S. This could impact the economy. I would like to hear more nuts and bolts about your economic plans.
Sure. Thank you, Pam. So first of all, it is the case in the United States of America that billionaires on average pay less taxes as a percentage than teachers and firefighters and nurses.
I'm talking about hard workers like pound the street, have some success.
Yes, no, I understand, but I want to just let's set the scene, right?
Yeah.
So when I say that the richest among us need to pay their fair share, I am referencing that, and I need to reference that because sadly, Donald Trump, when he was president, gave tax cuts to the richest, to billionaires and big corporations, which added trillions of dollars to our deficit. So that sadly needs to be said in a way that should be obvious to your point, but is not given what he did. Now, in terms of what we need to do to bring down taxes, I have pledged and have a plan for a middle-class tax cut that would affect 100 million Americans, including, for example, what we will do around small businesses in terms of tax deductions, in terms of what small businesses are now being mired in terms of a bureaucracy around they have to fill out and do their taxes in a way that actually holds them back. Part of my plan includes extending a middle-class tax cut that would include a $6,000 tax cut, essentially a child tax credit, for parents and young parents in particular, knowing that the vast majority of our parents have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources. So this is going to include an extra amount of just money that people can use to pay for childcare, which is far too expensive for too many working families.
In the face
and
of the two
part of the issue
choices
here is this.
that are to be
We
made.
cannot, and I will not, raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 a year. But we do need to take seriously the system that benefits the richest and does not help out working middle class Americans. I come from the middle class, and I believe that the middle class needs tax breaks to be able to actually not just get by, but get ahead.
So you're saying, well, what you're saying is anyone under 400,000 won't have taxes raised, or are you saying that anyone above 400,000 will have a tax raise?
No
I'm saying that there is going to be a parity around what the richest people pay in terms of their taxes. Right now, Anderson, you know, the document, it is well documented that some of the richest people in our country have gotten away with a zero tax rate.
But if you're earning $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 under your plan, there's a good chance your taxes will go up.
We can't have this conversation without knowing it's a very complicated situation, right? If you're talking about a small business owner, I'm going to cut taxes for small businesses, right? Because I know that they need the overhead, the money that they need for overhead to actually benefit the growth of their business, which benefits our economy as a whole.
Let's go to, you know, I want to reference something that about Pam. Pam, we mentioned her husband Steve died a year ago. You've talked about your mom, Shamala Harris, who died 15 years ago. What has grief been like for you? Do you still grieve?
Yeah, you don't stop grieving.
That it couldn't happen.
You don't stop grieving. I mean,
no one thinks about it until 2 months before a presidential
I
campaign.
think that there is, you know, there are like two sides to a coin when you have lost somebody you love. Or that two sides to a coin, that phrase becomes evident, which is if you have had the blessing of a close and important relationship with someone, then when you have that, the other side of the coin is that when you lose them, the grief becomes even deeper. But I also believe that, for example, anyone who has lost a family member through cancer or an illness, my mother died from cancer, it is important to try and remember them as they lived and not as they died, because the grief can really weigh you down. I think the brain has a way of, when you're grieving, really spiraling down, and it's important, I think, to try and remember those you have lost in a way they'd want to be remembered, as being vibrant, and I think it's important to just to grieve as one does. I don't think there's any correct or proper way to grieve. And the most important thing is I think that people do not suppress what they're feeling at any moment, and the rest of us should give them grace to go through it as they will. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more from the CNN Presidential Town Hall with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Go ahead. I'm taking a break on the live right now. Yeah, I don't care. I know y'all hear the background conversation going on about me talking about misogyny and how the black men that are not supporting Kamala Harris, it's rooted in misogyny in the two-choice system. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about the adults in the room need to have a serious conversation, and a serious conversation from the adults in the room is that no third party candidate is going to win in this coming election in less than 13 days. We got 13 days now. Yeah, it's not going to happen. And for you all who always talking about third party candidates, I'd like to see you all start your campaign and building a grassroots effort on November the 6th. Talk to me on November the 6th. Because I'm tired of every time I look up, somebody has a cultural reason or an agenda for why they want to vote for a third-party candidate. I am in the mood right now where I don't give a good goddamn about your justifications for any of the fantasies you live in when it comes to the reality of the government of this country. I don't really give a good goddamn. At this point, you all want to play Russian roulette and you want us to join you. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Either we're going to have Kamala Harris as president, or we're going to have Donald Trump as president. Those are the only two options. Anything else, I don't have 13 days to talk to you about it. I think it's rooted in a disingenuousness that is epic in proportions. If you get down to, especially when it's black men, and black men have been voting for the lesser of two evils ever since 1965. But now that it's a black woman even though I am, if you can tell, I am livid over some of these answers in the town hall, not because they're not that she's not intelligent or experienced enough. The experience comes through because that is the experience of a politician. The deflection, that is straight politician. I just wanted I wanted people to, and we will deal with that. I can listen. All the deflection. This is the kind of stuff I'm used to dealing with in the fight. Um, Donald Trump just straight lies. This is just a little deflection, the political deflection that irritates most intelligent voters, right? Especially, I want a statesman. I'm tired of politicians. I want a statesman. I want a statesman that says, yeah, this was fucked up, and this is the concept of how to fix it. It might not work. It might not work. It just might not work. But at the end of the day, trust the process and trust the ability of people to do that. And that's why I tell you, my problem with democracy is that most people, most people in this country are not informed enough to make true political decisions. I said it. I said it. Yep, I did say that. Um, Hold on. Close right now. Gotta wait for it to come back up. So, yeah, this one pretty lackluster. There's a lot of copy paste TNC answer. Yeah, and I think that's the safe road at this point. Don't get me wrong. You haven't run your campaign like that before, and I know. And don't get me wrong. I understand why this is the political answer at 12 days out. It's still better than Hillary Clinton's campaign because at this time Hillary Clinton thought she had won the campaign and she wasn't even doing this. So it's not that I don't say this within the proper context and framework of history. I just don't believe there are many swing voters left out there. And I think this town hall is a confirmation that the Democratic Party doesn't either. I don't think there are many swing voters. I believe there's a silent majority. There's lot of silent people. What's up, Cam? I believe there are a lot of silent people that are going to vote. Um, all right, Jalen, thank you. I believe there are a lot of people that don't talk about it that are going to vote for both candidates, and we'll find out on November the 5th and the 6th. But yeah, this confirms for me. Um, Senator, I realize that the statements that John Kelly made yesterday that we talked about last night on the program, they don't matter to Trump supporters. You know, we're who knew that? Who thought that Donald Trump was not a fascist already? I mean, it doesn't matter, and that's part of the problem. That General Kelly's statements don't matter to Trump supporters. And the people that are outraged about it were already voting for Harris anyway. That is the that is the reality. That what's up, Scrooge? That is a lot that I'm going to talk about on November the 6th that this election has shown me. This election, even though we knew, it's one thing to know something with 95% certainty. It is a whole different thing when that 5% is added to the mix and it's confirmed. Um, this the situations that we okay. I'll be back. I know y'all want to hear her more than me.
More than a bit. But I'm glad that you raised the subject so that I can address it. But just if you don't mind, just let me just finish. Because I think the spirit of your question is really important, and I'm glad you raised it. Our country deserves to have a president of the United States who is not afraid of good ideas and does not stand on pride. If a perspective needs to be informed by different points of view to build consensus and to have a common sense approach. I'm never going to shy away from good ideas. And I'm not going to feel the need to have pride associate with a position that I've taken when the important thing is to build consensus to fix problems. I believe in fixing problems. I love fixing problems. And so I pledge to you to be a president who not only works for all Americans, but works on getting stuff done.
Swing voters.
And that means compromise. And it
They
doesn't mean
want to be an
compromising your
audience.
values or your principles, but it does mean working to get stuff done. And I pledge to you I will do that.
Just to be clear, though, what he's referring to, and you point out, too, when you're running for vice president in 2020, you were not talking about banning fracking, but...
No, Anderson, I pledge that I would not ban fracking.
Right, I know. You said you would not ban fracking.
Correct.
You know, you had said in the 2019 town hall, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. In 2017, you talked about Medicare for all. You talked about 2019, you raised a hand in debate about if border crossings should be decriminalized. Are all of those issues, which those are not your positions now, are all those issues that you're saying through consensus and getting stuff done you have evolved on?
Well, no, let's take,
Just
for
say
example,
yes.
the issue
Just
of
say
Medicare.
yes.
My point has always been that access to health care should not just be a privilege of those who can afford it. It should be a right for all people. So that is why I have worked on doing what we have done to, one, allow Medicare to negotiate against the big pharmaceutical companies to bring down the cost of prescription medication. We've achieved that in terms of capping the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, capping the cost of annual prescriptions at $2,000 a year for seniors. But my plan moving forward, based on that very principle that I've always had, is as president, to have that cap be for everyone and not just for our seniors. The work that I have done that has been about recognizing the importance of dealing with border security, that has never changed. As I said, I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. That I did for years before I ever ran in 2019.
I mean, you did raise your hand saying in a debate when asked if border crossings should be decriminalized, but obviously that is not your position.
I never intended, nor will I ever allow America to have a border that is not secure. I believe we need to deal with illegal immigration. There needs to be consequences, which is why part of my plan that I have outlined, and again, please go to KamalaHarris.com. Sorry to throw a website on you, but why not? And you will see that part of my plan includes what we need to do to actually do more as it relates to putting resources in, including increasing penalties for illegal crossings.
And just finally on fracking, you said you're clear you would not ban it as president.
No, I would not ban it as president.
Right, I know you're clear on that. Do you think it is bad for the environment, though?
I think that we have proven that we can invest in a clean energy economy. We can mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. We can work on and sustaining what we need to do to protect this beautiful earth of ours and not ban fracking.
Time is short, so I want to get some more voters in. Tanisha Spall from Lansdowne, Pennsylvania. She works as an education administration manager for the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections. Registered Democrat who says she's leaning towards supporting you, has yet to make her final decision. Tanisha, welcome.
Thank you, Anderson. Thank you, Madam Vice President, for joining us this evening. I appreciate that you did acknowledge that we are a country that is faced with problems and issues. With the Supreme Court being plagued with issues, would you be in favor of expanding the court to, say, 12, so each justice has only one circuit court other than Chief Justice to assist in making judgments more balanced?
Well, to your point, there is no question that the American people increasingly are losing confidence in the Supreme Court. And in large part because of the behavior of certain members of that court and because of certain rulings, including the Dobbs decision and taking away a precedent that had been in place for 50 years, protecting a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. So I do believe that there should be some kind of reform of the court, and we can study what that actually looks like. But I do believe. But again, let's just, while you raise the point of the court, understand that, again, in 13 days, the American people will decide who is the next president of the United States. In 13 days, you will decide who is sitting in the Oval Office on January 20th. And on one hand, you have in Donald Trump someone who has increasingly proved himself to be unstable and who, as we have established and the people close to him have established, he is unfit to serve. Somebody who, on January 20th, you can be sure, will spend full time, like we know, and we've seen the image mentally of him sitting in the dining room off of the Oval Office, watching for hours as people violently attack the Capitol. You can be sure, because he has said he would weaponize the Department of Justice to go after his political enemies, that you can look at a Donald Trump in the White House after January 20th, sitting in that Oval Office, plotting his revenge. He has talked about the enemies within. We haven't even raised that subject, Anderson. The enemy is within. He's talking about the American people. He's talking about journalists, judges, nonpartisan election officials. He has talked about, as John Kelly has talked about, can he send the military after peaceful protesters? And he's going to sit there unstable, unhinged, plotting his revenge, plotting his retribution, creating an enemies list. I'm going to tell you, my list will be a list of how I address and continue to address the issues that you all are raising this afternoon and evening. It will be a to-do list about how we can impact the American people and lift up the American people and address some of the challenges that we continue to face.
I want to get one last questioner in. This is Elkin Pleat. He's a student at Temple University, registered Democrat, leaning towards voting for you, has yet to make up his final decision. Elkin.
Hi. First of all, go Birds, and I'm from Danville, California.
Oh, hi, Elkin.
But my question is, what is the proudest moment of your political career thus far, including when you were the AG?
Oh, that's a great one. I've actually had a few. One of them is I, as Attorney General of California, created what I named the Bureau of Children's Justice. And you may be familiar with that as a Californian. And it was because I believe that, frankly, we still have a lot to do in terms of policy that impacts children. And an investment in the children of our country is an investment in all of us and our future. And that work has actually produced significant results. That has been a proud moment for me. It was a proud moment for me to do the work that we've been doing that has addressed issues like maternal mortality. I mean, it's in response to an incredible tragedy, but lifting up that issue in a way that we agree that America should not have one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world. So I have had the good fortune of, in my life as a public servant, knowing the impact that we can have. And I guess that is probably what motivates me most, because I know we can make a difference. I really do. And I do believe that the American people deserve a president who's going to be hardworking and, you know, will make mistakes from time to time, but is focused on you. And I think that is so fundamental in this election. So fundamental. You deserve a president. I believe the American people deserve a president who's saying, look, let's just be practical. Let's get things done. And let's not be afraid of having a little joy to the point of, you know, what makes you feel good about your work. Let's do it in a way that is grounded in optimism. You know, the thing that I think we all know about who we are as the American people, we are people who are ambitious. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We are inherently optimistic. Inherently optimistic. And I think people are exhausted with the idea that we're just going to be divided and angry instead of working on the problems
so I can stop
and working together
on social media.
And that's what motivates me, and that's what makes me proud when we're able to do that. So.
Vice President Kamala Harris, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anderson.
And thanks for watching. Thanks to all the voters.
Where do I even start? Hold tight. Hold tight for a minute. Should I save this for later, or do y'all want me to go into it now? Do you want me to come back at 10 o'clock and go into it? Do you want it now? It's up to y'all. It's up to y'all. Do y'all need a break? Yeah, y'all need a break? We want to go into it later. Go into it now. I don't think there should be any more town halls within 2 weeks of the election. From nobody. I just don't. I just don't. Because that town hall reminds me of what I despise about politics in this country. And like I say, it's not. It's if anything, it just also goes to prove that she does have the experience necessary to be president of the United States. Let me say that. Start with the positive. There is no question in anybody's mind that the 21 years of public service experience that Kamala D. Harris has, it has not prepared her to be president of the United States. Uh, this is that's point blank. Period. She's the best candidate out of all the candidates running for president of the United States, hands down. There is no disagreement in that. Um, but I'm also reminded of why I have a problem with most politicians, even the ones that are the best ones for the job, because we can do better, and she could do better. But the also the constraints of it is I live in a realistic world. I always tell you about realism. I live in a realistic world, and I understood, and that's the other frustrating thing about me, to see something I dislike but understand why it's that way. Um, that is so frustrating because I understand politics. I mean, I study political science. I study people. But it's the idea that we have to appeal to the base in the society, no matter how mediocre it is, to get things done. That should be a given. Like I said, watching and you know, Don, it's not even the answers were non-answers because there were answers in there. You just had to go through too much. They're just, and I understand because Kamala Harris is also in a unique situation that she has to justify some things that shouldn't have to be justified. It's like, and I don't see why we don't lean into it. Do you understand that when I was 20, I had different opinions about life than I have at 57, and I don't consider it a weakness to say that I have evolved. Why can't I just say it? That question would have never became it never would have become a campaign question. People talk about, well, your positions have changed since 2017. I'm like, 2017 was 7 years ago. 7 years ago. I evolved. I learned more facts and details, and I came to a different conclusion. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? What is wrong with the idea that people evolve for in ways that they wasn't? Uh, and that's my thing. But I also realize the constraints, Don. The frustration part is I also realize the constraints that she has to give these long ass answers because she's a black woman in this position and this is how it has been done. And to do anything differently at this point in the game, I tell people, Kamala Harris at this point is not so much the swing voters. She has got to hold on to the coalition that she has built and to these and this is why this frustrates me because this is coalition holding on to because we expect the American people in general are stupid. Yeah, I said it. In general, we live in a racist country. In general, the reason misinformation is so easy to spread is because people are either willing to believe the worst or they don't have the brain cells necessary to discern the information they're getting. It's just easier to give into it. So that's that is. There are literally 74 million people that are going to uninhibitedly vote for Donald Trump. And those 74 million people aren't going to disappear. But yeah, this town hall just reminded me of that. And I didn't need a reminder, trust me. I watch politics and these things all day, every day, or listen to them in my ear while I'm multitasking and doing other things. They want to ignore the facts. They're not. Uh, White people can ignore facts more readily than others can. Um, White people are going to be the last people adversely affected by political decisions. So yeah, they can say things. They can ignore certain realities that marginalized groups cannot. And that is the sad part. That is the sad part because until they can get into a position where they can't afford to ignore it, they're going to continue to ignore. It's like saying, I've always been right. Why is she, why is Kamala, or why is she, while previous has been Obama, Biden, Trump, Clinton, et al.? I don't understand the nature of your question, just a girl. Please, um, you just had to be aware of what's being said and done. There's always a chance of foul ball. Yeah, I, I just, and I know, trust me, I understand. I put pressure. I put pressure on. Number one, these are not supposed to be our leaders. They're supposed to be our representatives. That's the whole Constitution talks about electing representation. But everybody always calls them leaders. But I digress. But my thing is, I want our representation to be the best of us. Not, I want them to be able. I want us to be able to handle the truth. I want us as a society to be able to say, yeah, we thought that was a good idea. Then we tried it. It didn't work. So we need to try something new without it being you're stupid. See, that's the dichotomy I find myself in. Um, why first name over last? You just had to be. She's asking why the VP is referred to by her first name instead of her last name. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. I thank you for. I think we discussed that once before, and it's rooted in the fact of the same. Ugh. How do we put this? I'm trying to think of how to put this nicely. It's rooted into the fact that women in general, be it from a negative or positive aspect, even when it was in the military, I noticed that is that I was fairly, I was always greetings and salutations, grandmother. I was fairly in in more close settings. I was I was a lot of other things, but it was like yeah, fairly. But when we get to a certain point, especially with black women, because of the culturalization of black imagery, and it's what comes to women, they're either Mammy or Jezebel. Those are your two choices. And don't be wrong, some of it's out of respect, and I like the way she's leaned into it. I like the way she's leaned into it, but a lot of it is rooted in the patriarchy. A lot of it is. Um, even with President Obama, even they might have referred to him as Obama, but that still to me is disrespectful when he's President Obama and not just Obama. Um, same way, same way. But I feel that I understand now, just a girl. Yeah, it's rooted in that, and even the best of us. Some of times we think we have a more we expect closer relationships with women than we do with men on a public scale. Yeah, we expect that. It's like Stacey Abrams. It's like it's so many people I've met that they'll call, Stacey. They don't even know her last name because they see her in that back. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, Shanna, because the book I'm reading that I just read this weekend that I'm going to return to you soon. That's one of we talk about stereotypes. So that was good. That's good. They want facts. I feel we have become lazy at looking for the truth. Ignorance is bliss. I don't know who we are. I don't know who we are. I hear people. There's a lot of things I hear people say we, and I'll be like, I don't know who these we people you speak of. Um, yeah, we not lazy when it comes to the truth. So I don't know who these we people are. My glass full, half full mindset immediately thought maybe because of a comfort with her. Yes, and it's in the same thing, but that comfort works against her in the patriarchy because that comfort is we're comfortable. We want to be comfortable with her bearing children. We want to be comfortable with her serving us. We want to be comforted with her emotional support of us. But it goes back to the video I just released when I talk about the 21 years of active experience that Kamala Harris has in public office as compared to the main page heard me talking to Metal about it, as compared to the 8 years that Ronald Reagan had in public life. And I'm talking about elected officials, public elected officials. Ronald Reagan served as the governor. He had no experience as a public official until he became the governor of California, which he served 2 terms in. So that only gave him 8 years. Donald Trump had 0 years of public service experience when he became president in 2016. Um, John F. Kennedy only had 13 years of public experience. And I'll say 13 because he's actually on the higher end of the spectrum. Barack Obama had 11. Um, and if I go back through history presidentially, most of those men didn't have that kind of experience. These are some of the highest levels of experience. Kamala Harris has 21 years of elected experience. Plus, she has a degree in political science slash economics with a Juris Doctorate in law. Things that you will only find from from Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, and the likes, right? Because we go back to the adage that black people have always had to work twice as hard to get half as much as our mediocre white counterparts. So when I hear that, I was like, evidentially, it speaks for itself. And in every branch. That's another thing. She's been in the legislative branch, the executive branch. Yes, yes, she has been in every branch, in the judicial branch when she was actually practicing law as a district attorney. So, and good point, just a girl. Good point. Because I forget that people don't understand the significance of that sometimes. It's the comfort and downplaying and dehumanizing us women as a whole that gets me. Right. And it gets me. It gets me. Hold on. I'm coming. Um, I get to see I my lesson. Come to my live. See, this is why I talk to text. Yeah, come to my live. I'm trying to talk into texting. All right. So what gets me is also Siren, and I say that because I have made a video and I've talked about black men and men in general that don't support Kamala Harris, and I made that video rooted in the fact that they will bring up personal experiences. I told you all this. This is the thing, and as a black man that has lived in this culture for 57 years, that has explored every aspect of our culture. I don't. I'm not talking about you know a black man that has experienced our culture from the outside looking in. I'm talking about the product of a grandmother that immigrated to this country directly from Ghana, a grandmother who grew up. I mean, well, she was grown, but a grandmother who raised a child in the civil rights era, a grandmother that guided our family until she died and passed it on. You understand? So this is not something that I don't have experience in. I've been to Africa and seen the difference in the African men and black men in America and all the trauma they passed each other. I've seen all that, and I still didn't absorb any of it. So that's what I say. That's why I have this thing about voting and participating in government because most people who are broken think their voice should matter as much as people who are not. Go heal yourself. Go get some therapy. That's my thing. Because at the end of the day, and I know, see, this is why I get in trouble. This is why I don't get millions of followers, because people will hear me say this and they will immediately get in their feelings instead of going and get some therapy. Because I have experienced trauma. I mean, I was in an organization, street organization. I've watched a friend, I've had a friend die from being literally lynched. I've had a friend bleed out in the back of the car on me after being shot. I've experienced trauma. But that does not mean I've internalized it enough that I say I can't vote for a black woman because a black woman when I was a black girl when I was 12 years old, 13 years old curved me. Hell, I would have curved me at 12, 13 years old. Hell, I wasn't as fly and handsome and as cute and strong as I am now. I was curvable. It's just the truth. I don't know. I didn't get curved much though. Seriously. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like Siren is talk about, trauma isn't men's fault, but healing is a direct responsibility. My audio is your audio is double. Can you all hear me? Yes, it's therapy. How am I sounding on the main page? Is my audio? Am I echoing? We can hear you, but it's a wild echo. Hold on, hold tight. All right, let me try something because I don't know why we're echoing. Dun 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 dun. What about now? Am I echoing now? I can hear you. Kind of echo. Not too bad. Okay. What about now? We good? We good. All right. So, yes, and I hear all this. I hear all this. You probably, I think that should shut down everything I had open. All right. So this is the reality of it. I've seen all this. I've seen all of it, and I still do not internalize it to carry on. That's like the conversation that Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin had the other day while we were talking, and I was talking to you all. I was talking to you all about it. I didn't take the headphones off. They were warm. Sometimes you need to deselect the output on it. Thank you. Thank you. All right. It's the idea, right, that you hit the nail right on the head when you talk about therapy in our reality seems to be a cuss word that especially black men because I listen and I'm gonna tell you because in my circle I talk about the circle I grew up in a lot and I just I don't understand a lot of things that I hear black men tell me on social media because I don't know those kinds of men in my personal life. I don't know it until I got on social media. I didn't realize that I had so many men that internalize so much trauma while wanting to be called men also. It's like you want to be kings. Let me tell you the difference between kings and men. Kings process life differently. I'm not referred to as a king just because I happen to have, you know, um, genitalias hanging between my legs. It is the way I move through life, the way I carry myself, the way I embark on certain things that people respond to. And I just meet a lot of people that show up and think because they have um, a penis that I've never, and women know the difference. Women, other people, they know the difference. No one who calls me king just because I'm male. They call me king because of the way I carry myself, present myself, and move through life. and how I respect and honor and protect. I didn't realize that wasn't the standard, and that was the outlier. Come on in, not you. Come on. Say hello. Say hello. Excuse me. This is what kings do. Kings will stop in the middle of a conversation because their puppy was wanting some attention. Say hello. Yeah, the puppies wanted some attention, so y'all have to wait for a moment. Because usually I'm not on live at this time, and don't get look, don't get this twisted. Chihuahua is some foreign language from another planet, and it literally means demon dog. That's what Chihuahua means. So do not let this image fool you. This is literally a demon dog. Okay? Yeah. Don't this demon. Say hello, demon. Yeah, it's corruptive influence. So, yep, yep, she devil. Hmm, Bye. I just want to put you down. See what I mean? See what I mean? I'm just putting her down. And now she wants to get back in my lap again. I can't win under these conditions. I can't win under these conditions. But I, I'll be letting Bestie know. She has a sweet face, though. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for that. She's she's right now looking for something to eat. Come here. There you go. Right now, she's looking for something to eat. That's it. Yeah, about back to conversation. But that's why. So when I hear the dissension that I get, like when I hear, I didn't realize there were so many black men that didn't love themselves. I didn't. I'm sorry. I understand the history associated with the struggle. And it's like when people hear me talk about it, they act like I didn't go to the same struggle. I came of age in Mississippi. And so I went through the same struggles. I go through the same struggles. I just choose to fight them differently because I guess I listened to James Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni at an early age. And I'm like, why am I bringing my struggles of racism and bigotry home? Why am I bringing that to the person I say I love or care about? Why am I bringing that to my children? I never could justify that. I would be out in the streets. I was an enforcer. I didn't sell the actual product, but I enforced and made sure the actual product sellers were safe. But I never would bring it home. I never would bring it home with me. And so I never allowed it to. So I do. And that's why you all don't hear me talking about mental health issues a lot because there are only a few people that I believe actually suffer from mental health issues. And I know this is not the airport. If I say something you don't like, I'm sorry, but you don't have to announce your departure. There are a few people that I talk to that like I know people who have been in war, and I won't mention his name, or been in the military, and actually have seen things that I have seen, and I understand why they are traumatized still, or why they have to. When you've been in a zone where you have been fired at, it's a different, yes, backfires hit you differently because you usually have to duck. I understand that. All right, this is what's going to happen. You all, I'm going to shut down the main page until I can get a handle on that echo. Can you all join me on the backup page? Come over to my backup page. I'm going to shut this down and see if that will stop the echo. Y'all, if y'all continue with the conversation, come over to my backup page, and I'm still be live over there. Okay, is that all right with everybody over there? Robert, get over there. Well, only why Robert, you know you're not supposed to be over there. But I'm trying to do this. Y'all got to give me a minute. I'm trying to work it out so we can do both of them. But until I figure it out, I'll try to figure out later tonight. You all come over to the backup page, all right? Because I don't want that echo to distract you all. All right, but we clear on the main we clear on the other page. No echo. I'm gonna go study. I don't go study yet. Nah, you ain't need. Your studying will be there in a minute. Yes, you don't have to study yet. Um. All right, there we go. We're here. All right, good. Thank you all for moving over. Like I said, I'll figure that echo out by 10 o'clock. Then I'll go when I go live. When I go back live. But yeah, so that's what I try to instill. I say sometimes we have to navigate life in a manner that doesn't detract from life. We have to be able to say, "Hey, this fucked up shit happened, and it happened to me." I'm not denying that, but by the same token, we have to realize that we still have to do what's best collectively for us. It's like just because I have been traumatized does not give me the right to make decisions that would lead to the traumatization of my community. I still have to be the king. I still have to move in regards to being the king because I stepped into it. I choose to. I choose to be the protector. I choose to be the warrior. That doesn't mean I don't get hit or I haven't bled. That just means that in spite of that, I still choose to fight and protect. And we have to start learning the difference between making personal decisions that have long term consequences and taking those personal effects and making decisions in another arena that are not necessarily congruent. Like I say, most of the black men that I hear talking about not supporting Kamala Harris, I can trace back to a bad relationship. I can't. I chase it back. When I be listening to on X and they be going in and they be calling her all kinds of names and they be saying things, I'll be like, yeah, what's her name that you broke up with? What's her name that hurt you? Because that's what you're doing. And men have and that's one of the reasons that in this patriarchy that men are often inclined to not support women in leadership roles because they view women as submissive. And because I hear people talking about, well, how's she gonna handle Vladimir Putin? She just gonna. I'm like, what does that? How did Angela Merkel handle Vladimir Putin? How, how did Margaret Thatcher handle the Russian leaders? You all say that like they got to go over there and have a personal arm wrestling match. Kamala Harris is going to be in control of the world's the world's most sophisticated and most powerful military. I don't have to go have a personal conversation with Putin or Xi Jinping. Yeah, I don't. I just don't understand these questions when they say, "Are they what?" Because y'all are used to being in pissing matches with your small dick energy, comparing them. Big dick people don't compare their dicks to dick people. Trust me, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. I don't have pissing contests with people. Yeah, I don't. Why would I? So when I hear you all say that about Vice President Harris, I'd be like, what kind of world do you live in? You live in a world of misogyny where and then the people saying they can't even fight. Right, Shayna. Right. Audio is perfect now. All right. You just made a video I feel like I should have paid for. They forgot that there are women presidents and prime ministers in other countries. Mexico just elected a woman president. And then on the world stage in history, we're always talking about Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Maiden. We're always talking about Margaret Thatcher. But you mean to tell me that you all don't know there are presidents of countries in Africa that are women? You mean to tell me you don't understand that we were come from a matriarchal society or patriarchal, depending on who was the wisest person in the community, whether they were male or female? I just don't. I don't get it. I don't. And I wish somebody would explain it to me in a logical way that wasn't rooted in emotions. I made the video. I made a video telling people this is the facts. These are the facts. So if you're arguing, your argument must be contained to the facts. That's why I tell people talk about, well, we all entitled to opinions. You're entitled to an opinion that you pulled out your asshole or someplace in the universe that is not based in facts. My opinions are based in, I can pull up what my opinions are based in. My opinions are based on this fact, this fact, this fact. It's like going to a doctor and going to, I don't know, mm, a 6-year old, and you're going to them both for medical opinions, and he's like, yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Yeah, sure, everybody's entitled to an opinion, but I need a medical opinion, so I need somebody whose opinion is based in medical facts. But we're going to elect a president, and we're not going to hold them to that same standard when we talk about experience, right? Right. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not taking medical advice from my 6-year-old. Right. I'm not taking medical advice from a lawyer. They could be the best lawyer there is. I'm not going and asking for their medical opinion. They don't have one unless they're Kate Scorpetta. Y'all know who Kate Scorpetta is? Anybody know who Kate Scorpetta is? Just testing, just testing. But if it's not Kate Scorpetta, I will ask Kate for her legal opinion and her medical opinion. Yeah. Yeah, that's your job. Find out who Kate Scorpetta is. Yeah. I read a lot. I don't know who half the people are you bring up. Kate Scorpetta is a fictional character in a series of books written by Patricia Cromwell. Did you hear about Stacey Williams and her accusation against Trump and Epstein? Yes, as a matter of fact, Petra sent me. I have the file. I have of her, Stacey, and Kate. Um, yeah, I got that too. The one from Kate also. But this is the thing, and it goes. You bring up that Penelope, and this is the thing that saddens me and reinforces the point when I talk about this country and democracy, right? It's not going to move the needle any amongst any people that support Donald Trump. If it doesn't, the idea that I listen to General Kelly and I listen to him knowing that it was nothing he said that is going to move the needle amongst Trump supporters, and then to watch people bend over backwards to shit on General Kelly. They said he had Trump derangement syndrome. They won't care, but some say this is the preview to the October surprise. It's not. I think we're not going to have an October surprise that does anything to move the needle. There's only one October surprise that would move the needle, and I would probably be in federal custody if I talked about it, especially on my platform. Yeah. And I'm not, and that would only be a belay of the problem because the problem is the depth of the iceberg, not the tip. It's the depth of the iceberg, not the tip. And so, you know what? My show is about to start in 14 minutes. So basically, y'all telling me I got to stay on now until 11 o'clock. So, well, I guess I won't have that figured out by 10 o'clock because I guess I'm going to stay here and just go live. Um, yeah, I got to at least need to say, this is what I mean when I say that I am always late because this is what happens. Something will come up. I got to pull up, give me a moment. I got to pull up the radio station and get ready to go live. I should have checked the schedule and see what the DJ was doing and interfere and just interfere with his show. But this is what I mean. It is 9:46. I did not know it was 9:46. I knew I should have got up and got some snacks, but no, I was tricked at it. So y'all gotta let me get the radio station set up there, and let me get Bella. Come on. Let me get Bella in the room. Hey, hey. Hop up, hop up. Go, go. There you go. Y'all say hello to Bella. All right. Yeah. See, she gonna be mad because I was supposed to take her. I usually take her outside before the show starts, but no, y'all gotta, y'all gotta get me talking, knowing that that's my weakness when it comes to politics. Dun, dun, dun. I'm so glad y'all can't see the things. I just be moving across the screen. I just be moving stuff across the screen. And it's like, hey, I ain't got that set up. All right. All right, so someone give me a countdown, 12 minutes. And then, I don't, do you don't blame this on us. Yeah, I'm blaming it on you specifically. Yeah, you always give me countdown. Can we see your hoodie? Oh, yeah, sure. Dun, 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 dun. I'm a hoodie guy. I'm a hoodie guy. 12-minute countdown to I need to start the radio station. I don't want I don't want to stay up until midnight tonight, but don't want to miss out on the conversation. The conversation is ending tonight at 11 o'clock Eastern time. No, the conversation is ending at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time tonight because we have been on for 4 hours. We have been on for since what 8, a little before 8. So the conversation is not going to go on to midnight as of right now. Because now I don't. We've seen you all have seen y'all have heard it. Unless you want to see the town hall meeting, I could go and download it. But other than that, we can just carry the conversation on. Because I also want to talk about what has happened in Sudan today. I want to talk about what happened in Sudan today also. So see, bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. When I'm alone in the room, I hear my conscience call, and in the back of my mind, I think I leave love. Yep, he's a fascist. Uh, Donald Trump. And what took us so long to call him a fascist? Look, oh, told you, that's one of the things I get frustrated with. I get frustrated with the idea that this is just happening, just developing. Keep the day job, log off speech. I haven't even logged on yet. 11 minutes. All right. 9 minutes. Keep the day job. Who are you? Is my chief of security telling me to keep my day job? My day job is revolutionary. Yeah, the singing is just incidental. I'm not. No one's paying me to sing. I just sing because I like to. Can I have that? Can I have the? Can I just sing? I am frustrated that MAGA people's parents didn't just swallow. Damn. Damn. You mad that that brother and sister combination didn't just swallow their kids? Okay, okay. I get it. I get it. Wow. So how you really feel? How you really feel? Petra going on the no reading list. Yeah. Yeah, we looking at you. We looking at you. Yeah, you back there fighting with the comforter. Yeah, comforter is winning this battle right now. Oh, yeah, we see you. Now she want to act like we. Now she know we watching. She want to act all demure and yeah, yeah. We see you. We see you. She's so cute. She's yeah, yeah. She is. I can't argue that. She is, especially when she's fighting the comforter. When she's fighting the comforter, I just want to smush her face. Yeah, she she's tomorrow is bath day. We need a camera just for Bella during the live. I could arrange that. I get a Bella cam. I get a Bella cam put up in the corner. Yeah, yeah. It wouldn't be a good idea though. We probably, yeah, we have to talk about stuff. The sniffing is adorable. Y'all can hear it. Y'all can hear her sniffing. Yeah. Everyone is here for Bella. TNathan is a side character. Exactly. But I accept that. Just like trauma, I accept that. I know there are going to be some mad brothers that I mean some mad males that happen to be black at me. Stay mad at me because at the end of the day, I don't. I don't. I just I just don't believe that um, we get to take the bad things that happen to us and pour them onto others. I just don't. I cannot get behind that. I can't get behind the idea that people. I have heard people justify, and like I say, I was in prison, and I would listen to some of the people justify some of the things they did, like when it came to children after we were beating them up, women after we were beating them up, because that's the one thing I can't get people. People are told a lot of things about prison that are just not true. Most of us we don't tolerate pedophiles. We don't tolerate it in the old prison system, in the new system. We don't. That's like the bridge too far. We listen, and this sounds fucked up. This sounds fucked up. We would get along. I can't say get along better. I remember one day they tried to get me to work in the kitchen. Right? It was special. It was like it was a hurricane. It was something, and when it was, so they didn't. They were trying to get us to work in the kitchen because the people that come to the kitchen, they couldn't get there because trees were down. So they wanted to say, "Well, y'all go and y'all make some sandwiches, and we'll give them out." And of course, I've never been. Um, the only time I was on max custody is after a fight, and I would spend like 6 months on max custody. But anyway, so I wasn't. And I was out, and I was like, okay. Because the guards was like, he's not a problem unless he gets into a fight. He's just not starting anything unless he get into a fight. He usually doesn't get into a fight and with somebody unless they are a child toucher or if they start a fight with him. So I was good. But anyway, they tried to get us to go to the kitchen. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not working in the kitchen. There are knives in the kitchen. There are people who have killed their wives that have, and you're going to give them access to knives, and you think I'm going to be around them? Yeah, no. Am I supposed to start? Is it 10 o'clock? Oh, 4 minutes. Yeah, no, I wasn't going to do that. But I'm saying you that because you could have killed your spouse is one thing, but if you um in a child in any kind of way, or you took, y'all know what I mean by took, right? If you took something from a woman or a female present or anybody, yeah, that's different. And I know it sounds like they say, but they can kill their wife. And I just tell it. I didn't make these laws. I'm just telling you how they go, right? I didn't make them, so that should tell you who we are. So I get mad when people say about, it. But I say that because those things matter in prison more than they matter in our present situation of electorate. Let that sink in. I know just as much about the perversions of elected representatives to the House of the United States Representative or the presidency that we wouldn't have tolerated in prison, but we make excuses for in our governments. Let that sink in. Matt Gates, Matt Gates would have got the business. Would have got the business. But he's running around Congress just as free as a bird. Yeah, I'm starting the music. I'm starting the music. Hold on. Let me start the music so I can get the. Hope I'm not stepping on anybody's feet. Let's get it. Up. Just get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I don't even believe it. Yeah, yeah.
This is the part when I bounce back and come take control of my life.
Yeah.
Cause in a moment of weakness, I told God to just let me die. But I'm alive, not talking glory or gain. No, when I say that I will survive, now I'm gonna climb over this obstacle. Cause there's nothing in this world that will stop me from getting what's mine. Feel like I'm back in the cell, just sitting in that bitch cause I couldn't make bail. They treat you like shit when you black in the mail. At first I was sad, now I'm madder than hell. Fell off for a bit, but I'm back on the trail. Just feeling the bumps like I'm practicing braille. As soon as I heal and get back to myself, I'ma fly through this bitch like a bat out of hell. Boom! I came to fuck shit up just like the Terminator. Eating everything that's in my path just like an alligator. I'm from the 90s, still buzzing like I got a pager. And I'm just sticking to the paper like an hour later. Was laying on the street praying to God, please watch over my family and mom. Brought me in, I was barely alive. God said that I'm sparing your life. I picked you whether you ready or not. May 10/22 is a day I won't forget. At the same time of day I don't remember. And I'ma keep fighting till the day my heart stopped. Because I promise at no point will you see me surrender. Every day I woke up and I took life for granted, but I promise that wasn't my intention. Let me just dust myself off, then pick myself up, cause this is the story of my redemption. Cause I gotta thrive. This is the part when I bounce back and come take control of my life. Cause in the moment of weakness I told but I'm alive. Stop talking glory and gain. When I say that I will survive, now I'm gonna climb over this obstacle. Cause there's nothing in this world that will stop me from getting what's mine.
Yeah, y'all heard him. Y'all heard him. Y'all heard him. That was Young Merc. Young Merc. Like a little Young Merc. All right. Welcome, GCPR. What's up? This is Nathan. Am I early? I am early. I am on time. I am on time. We're actually here. I'm on time because I've been on a long time. But we are here. Thank you for joining us as you all come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, yep, yep. Hold tight. Hold tight. Dun 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 dun. So we are on GCPR now. We have started and we are back. We have just got finished watching um, the Kamala Harris. We just got through watching, listening to Kamala Harris town hall meeting that she had. And now we're back with you all to talk about how we got here. All right, everybody. Everybody ready? Everybody ready? Good. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Hope y'all had a good day. For you all who can see me, that's Bella, my co host for today. And we're ready. Yes, I'm on the air. I am on the air. I just started. I got the introductions out the way. So Olivia won't be saying, he giving a 4 hour extra. All right, got the introductions out the way. We just finished watching and listening. Well, we finished listening to the town hall that Kamala Harris held in Delco, Pennsylvania, and just gonna say he's on time for once. Look, Jay, you're late. Been here since 8 o'clock. I've been here since 8 o'clock. That's why I'm on time going on the air because we've been here since 8 o'clock. You're late, Jay. You're late. All right. Bella has options to share today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There she is. Like, what? She has my sock. She has my sock. She jumped down, grabbed my sock, and jumped back on the bed. Ugh. This is why, people that always looking for their socks, I, I know where my socks disappear to. Bella takes my socks. And then I'll let her go outside and she'll grab my sock and run outside with it. And of course I don't want it after it's been outside. Yeah, I won't. So it's just you can find when we do the lawn, find socks of mine in the lawn. Yeah, because Bella takes it. I hate when they do that. What? Take your socks? Yeah, she can have it. She can have it. So we were listening to Vice President Harris, and my critique of it was, and it's not so much as a bad critique in relevance to politicians. It's just that um, a critique nonetheless. The critique. Oh, you late. You late, Olivia. Bella was getting. Your bestie said she was gonna tell you what your client was up to. That's how bad it was. Your bestie said she was gonna tell you. So as I said, we were talking about it, and it's straight my frustration with the fact that politicians find the need to dodge hard questions, and but it's a byproduct of the society we live in. Where trying to where is that shadow coming from? Is the shadow coming from my mic? All right, but the thing is, or and I think does a disservice to our society. But then again, yeah, at the end of the day, I think that it's a shame that our society is so simplistically unintelligent in general, not specifically, but in general. The idea that most people act like you can't learn and grow and evolve, but in the same breath, they're asking for change. And only change only comes from learning, growing, and evolving. Hmm, but that was it. And then we segued into talking about um, the point that black men that don't support Kamala Harris, and most of it is not rooted in policy. Most of it, men, period. Most of the men that I hear um, calling Kamala Harris outside her name, um, not because of anything she's personally done or said to them, but because it's rooted in their own misogyny. It's rooted in their personal dealings with being curved. Um, it's dealt with the idea of the patriarchy, but the patriarchy can't conceive the idea of a female leading because they're so wrapped up in thinking that penis is the rites of passage to leadership, but they are not. They're fine with women making them lunch, making them dinner. They're fine with women providing for them. But the idea of a woman leading, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, she doesn't have the experience to lead. Yeah, right. Um, Grandmother, where you going? Where my grandmother going? Wow, y'all in trouble. Grandmother leaving. FCC fines out the wazoo. We're gonna have some FCC fines tonight. But also, I want to hit on. I want to hit on that. So when I hear this idea of men, or especially black men, that is rooted in this argument of she's not experienced enough, or she doesn't have this and has that. Yeah, no, it's just all rooted in misogyny or misogynoir. So there is that. Also, I want to talk about what was going on in Sudan, and Sudan has gotten worse. Are we voting for Kamala? Of course, we're voting for Kamala. What kind of question? You. Eh, I'm surprised that question made it past my chief of security or the Dora Milaje. What? You're new here. You're new here. Okay, you're new here. You didn't watch any videos going out. Good night, grandmother. Have a good one. Um, I want to talk about the forgotten conflict that is going on in Darfur in Sudan, that has been going on for this time for 18 months. In this area of the Sudan, um, there was a genocide and massacre in Darfur in 2004 to 2005. And that genocide was covered because the news media could get in there, and we had um, images from the ground. I'm convinced that the situation that is unfolding in the Sudan is even worse than that. Um, I was saving my legs in the tub. Now I got a shower, but I'll be here. No problem. I'm convinced that the situation that is unfolding in the Sudan is even worse now than it was then. We just had, it is so bad that we're relying on satellite imagery to see into certain areas of the Sudan that has been caught up between military forces fighting over control of the country's resources. And of course, civilians are caught in the crossfire. In September, there was, because of record uh, rains, there was massive flooding as infrastructure failed because the two warring factions are spending resources on weapons and not maintaining bridges or dams. So, on top of the 10 million people that have been displaced by this internal conflict that the rest of the world is turning a blind eye to, that's 5 times the number of people that have been displaced in um, the Sudan that have been displaced in Gaza. But of course, it's not getting the kind of attention that the Gaza is getting. Not to take away from attention from Gaza, but I look at these large creators that say they stand and they hate this and they hate that, and they're not talking about the Sudan, Congo, Somalia, or Haiti. Um, you can do all of that at the same time. We have to. We have to understand. And people are going to ask me like, what do we do? And I'm gonna talk about that also, because we individually can't do anything except I donate to Doctors Without Borders. But I was talking to a friend of mine that with Doctors Without Borders, and they're talking about how they're restricted from going into areas, and in certain areas because they're controlled by one or two factions of the military, and how dangerous it is for them to even be there, or how they're robbed of supplies when they go into these areas. So, satellite imagery just showed that 14 villages was set on fire over the weekend. 14 villages were literally set on fire over the weekend in Sudan. It is about the only creator I see who makes content about Gaza and Sudan. Yeah. Um, I guess I haven't seen I and then I see people talk about it and they irritate me because they're not talking about accurate information about it. I'm not saying your guy is. He's probably. I've talked with you know people on the ground, done interviews, talked to them also, um, talk about what is needed. Um, but this is a humanitarian crisis. So I want to share this with you, and this is from the Office of Coordinated Affairs on Humanitarian Crisis, and it's a brief minute, but I want to share what she said, and I want you to understand that the what she's about to talk about was from May and where we are now. And I'm gonna come back and talk about where we are now in relevance to what she's about to share with you. Because like I say, um, I hear a few people talking about what's happening on the ground, and especially when we say save the children. Let's get it.
Sudan is on the course to become the world's possibly worst hunger crisis. Already 18 million people, again, has been said. More than one-third of the country's estimated population are facing food insecurity. By the time the lean season arrives in May, people in some parts of Darfur could face what we term IPC phase 5 level acute food insecurity. We call this stage a catastrophe. Malnutrition is soaring to alarming levels and is already claiming children's lives. A recent MSF report revealed that one child is dying every 2 hours in Zamzam camp in El Fasher, North Darfur. Our humanitarian partners estimate that in the coming weeks and months, somewhere in the region of around 222,000 children could die from malnutrition. And with the estimated WHO estimates that more than 70% of health facilities are not functional, children who are already malnourished are at even greater risk of dying from preventable diseases. It seems utterly unfathomable that this tragedy could be allowed to happen. It keeps us all up at night and will do so for a long time. Sudan is on the course to become
Y'all heard that, right? Um, and that was wrong one. Dun, dun, dun. And yeah, I'm sick of McDonald's shaking about the. Not right now, Olivia. Not right now. The Sudan, it is so bad in the Sudan and the surrounding area because the people that are displaced in the Sudan, we're talking about millions of people, tens of millions of people. Sudan has a population of 50 million. 50 million and some change, right? Closer to 50 than 51 million. A third of the population of Sudan is presently suffering from a man-made famine. Do you understand that? That families in the Sudan are literally eating grass to survive in the escalation of the hunger crisis that is going on that no one is talking about. Um, to understand that the famine levels of malnutrition that is presently going on in Sudan has spread it across 18, over half of its 18 states. People are in active famine, not talked about famine, not possibility of famine, active famine. And most of those impacted directly are children. Children and women and non combatants. The combatants are not starving, the population is starving. 18 million people are literally going to sleep hungry tonight that went to bed hungry yesterday. Do you understand what a staggering number 237,000 children is? And the world is acting like this is okay. Nobody's trying to drop humanitarian aid into villages by helicopter. Nobody's trying to negotiate peace. Well, except South Africa. Let me not, because South Africa has taken the lead just like they did in Gaza. They had taken the lead in Congo and in the Sudan. So my question is, are these people not worthy of attention? Somalia, Congo, Haiti, are they not other, what is it? It's not trendy to talk about their suffering. That's my question. We can't even talk about solutions to the problem because nobody even wants to acknowledge what's going on. Nobody wants to even acknowledge what's going on. And when I do acknowledge what's going on, hold tight.
Reverse Flash wants to take over the MCU, but first he's got to get rid of the competition.
Not talking about Reverse Flash. Hold tight. Because I'll put it this way, and you're going to see something in this video that you say, I just mentioned, right? Yeah, I get disappointed. What are you disappointed in? So, there you go. This is the African nation of Sudan, and it is the site of what I like to refer to as a forgotten conflict. A conflict that has displaced 10 million Sudanese, more than 5 times the number that have been displaced by the present conflict in Gaza, and it gets a fraction of the attention. In an escalating hunger crisis, families across Sudan are literally eating grass to survive. Sudan is the home to over 50 million individuals, and in the last 18 months of this forgotten conflict, famine levels of malnourishment have swept across the 18 states of the Sudan, and those impacted the most are women and children.
Already 18 million people, again, has been said. More than 1/3 of the country's estimated population are facing food insecurity. By the time the lean season arrives in May, people in some parts of Darfur could face what we term IPC phase 5 level acute food insecurity. We call this stage a catastrophe.
And as if the man-made humanitarian crisis presently being experienced in the Sudan is not bad enough, extreme high flooding caused by an above-average rainy season due to global warming has led to severe flooding. Flooding that led to dams collapsing that led to more displacement, as more than 50,000 people in the area of the most recent flooding were displaced and 70 villages ceased to exist.
Malnutrition is soaring to alarming levels and is already claiming children's lives. A recent MSF report revealed that one child is dying every 2 hours in Zamzam camp in El Fasher, North Darfur. Our humanitarian partners estimate that in the coming weeks and months, somewhere in the region of around 222,000 children could die from malnutrition.
I see very few social media influencers that you all follow on such a regular basis talking about the issues that are unfolding in places like the Sudan, the Congo, Somalia, Haiti. And I ask myself, are those situations not worthy of attention? Y'all have the day you deserve.
Did what? How?
So my question stands. My question stands. Are they not worthy? Or are they not worthy of our? You can't solve a problem with no attention. So that's what my question is. Are they not worthy of our attention? And it saddens me. Oh, it saddens me profusely to see that this is the reality of the situation. This is the reality that we are forced to face on a regular basis. This is the quiet storm that we scream into and wonder, is anybody listening? When it involves black and brown people. I mean, if somebody can tell me something different, please tell me. Tell me, because I want to know. I want to know. And I can do this without taking away from anybody else's suffering. But there is something out of place when we call what is happening in Gaza what it is. But we're literally looking at countries in Africa where 5 to 10 times the same number of people are displaced, the same 10 times the number of children that are actively dying. And nobody is talking about how. We're not even talking about the fact that nobody is talking about how we begin to address it. Baby girl, my thing is, like I say, I donate to Doctors Without Borders. I did I do virtual fundraisers for them or attend, but even that now is the fact that they're being cut off from the people. You understand how many? We don't even talk about how many doc people, volunteers. We talk about anything that happens to a volunteer in Gaza. Do you understand? 4 medical teams have died in the Sudan trying to help people, and guess what? They're still there trying to help. They didn't run like the UN did out of Gaza. Doctors Without Borders are still there, knowing that their lives are in danger, depending on the military feeling on that day. There were 14 villages that were set on fire over the weekend, indiscriminately. We don't even know why or who these particular 14 villages were even destroyed by. Was it the rapid security? Was it the rapid security forces, or was it the Sudanese army, the Sudanese army? Don't even know. We have to literally rely on satellite images because we can't get people on the ground there. We literally have to do that. Is that post on your page? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And this is another thing that's frustrating because I can go on my page and drag a racist or bigot to hell and get 100,000 views on a video. But the minute I talk about anything that's happening in Darfur, in the Congo, in Haiti, Somalia, it's like everybody disappears. And I understand people will say the algorithm isn't showing it to me. Are we really going to blame an algorithm for our when you know the information. Y'all know I'm going to post about Somalia. Y'all know I'm going to post about Haiti. Y'all know I'm going to post. Eh, don't wait for the algorithm to show. Don't wait for the algorithm to show you. And that's what gets me, because we will talk about suppression, but how do I have so many supporters and they're still talking about suppression 4 years later when my content hasn't changed? My content hasn't changed. You all knew when y'all signed up for this, my content gets suppressed. But if you want to really know, it's becomes incumbent upon you to at least stop by once a day, once every 2, 3 days. And I'm not talking about for the numbers. I don't give a good goddamn about the numbers. But it does get to me when people that support me or follow my page talk about something and act like, I get people who send me videos and they say, well, nobody's talking about this. I was like, I talked about it 2 months ago and you just getting around to it, talking about it. I don't get as many likes and reposts. That's why I check your page daily or even other. Right. I'm just saying, if you want to know, if the information is there, we can't keep blaming it. It's like I'm listening to people that talk about the system, but when we find workarounds around the system and how to use it, we don't even go for those. We still want the system to be responsible for our input by waiting for the system to get around to telling us about it. That's why I talk about the fact that, you know, there, yes, the American election is important because we live in America. And American elections are going to affect the rest of the world. True. But people don't even know what's going on in the rest of the world. Unless it's something that happens in Europe. We know there's a war in Ukraine. You're going to know how many people died in a bombing of Russia. About if it takes place right now, you're going to know how many people died in that bombing in the Ukraine that Russia carried out within 12 hours. 12 hours. But yet and still, 12 villages were eliminated from the face of the planet in Somalia over the weekend, and the Sudan over the weekend, and nobody's talking about it. There's a dam, the Adwa Dam, that broke in September. I did a video on it, and they talk about it's so bad. Just imagine, this is such a bad thing that they can only tell you the number of villages that were wiped out to the east, to the west of the riverside, because they couldn't even reach the eastern side, and they still haven't. 50,000 people displaced just because a dam broke. Water, water that's a commodity is now flushed with sewage, leading to even more deaths in an environment that is already suffering a famine. And now fresh water is at issue. Fresh water. Because your dam broke and the fresh water supply is now contaminated with sewage. I want to show you all, because of course I have pictures, but I want to show you all what I'm talking about, because I don't think it hits people what it even looks like. It's fine. And then to also know that this is because of global warming. Because of global warming. And first, let's go to southern Sudan. Do you see this? 1 million people hit by flooding. And I want to 1 million people. Look at this water. Look how high it has risen in this village. And this is the thing, right? Because and this idea is kind of misleading in and of itself. Because the this is a village, right? And it's an older village. But the people in the village are in refugee camps because of this. But then the flooding in the refugee camps makes this looks like, look at the water. And the flooding in the refugee camps is even worse. It is even worse because you're talking about literal tents. You're talking about people that are sleeping above the water because there's nowhere to go. These people have nowhere to go. It's not like they can escape flooding by going uphill. Hold on.
This is what remains of Osley village in Merawi in Sudan's northern state. Homes reduced to rubble and debris.
Show you this one. Don't shoot the messenger. Listen to this.
This is what remains of Osley village in Merawi in Sudan's northern state. Homes reduced to rubble and debris due to heavy rains and floods. 65-year-old Asha Mohammed shows us what remains of the home she's lived in all her life. She says the rains and floods this year is unlike any she's seen in her lifetime.
We lost everything in the house. The rooms are gone, the bathrooms, everything. We left the house with only the clothes on our backs. It's the first time in my life that I've seen torrential floods like this. Everything has been carried away.
The only way to move around parts of the village is on tractors due to the high water levels. The locality is one of several in northern state affected by this year's rains and floods that has so far killed more than 170 people and injured hundreds others. The damages here are just a fraction of the devastation caused by the rains and floods. More than 50,000 homes in several villages have either been damaged or destroyed since June when the rains began. Many families who were already struggling are now displaced once again as the humanitarian situation gets worse. Sudan is already going through a crisis as a result of fighting between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces that's led to the displacement of more than 11 million people. The rains and floods have left many in need of assistance.
We don't have medicine. There's a Red Crescent tent here, but very few get medications. There's an eye infection going around, so we need medicine. We also need bedding and there are no tents. People here are really suffering.
And some are concerned about the future.
We need engineers to let us know, if we rebuild and more floods come in the future, will we be able to stay in Osley without damage or loss of life? Because if the area is no longer habitable, we need to find other solutions. The government needs to help us find solutions.
For now, many say all they need is assistance to help them cope with their losses and keep them alive until they can rebuild their lives. Hiba Morgan, Al Jazeera, Osley, Northern State.
Just think, right? You have to deal with that on top of the fact that you're living in between two warring factions of your government. You're dealing with two warring factions of your government that they're too busy fighting each other than to deal with the immediate needs of its citizenry. That's the reality. Like I say, people be thinking I just be talking. I don't be just talking. This is the reality of what is going on. This is what it looks like. To look at the human toll being taken while the rest of these people pay lip service. They just stand in, I oppose the genocide everywhere. You do? Can you define everywhere for me? Can you define everywhere? And this is the thing. I can show you video after video I watch that no one's talking about. I've listened to people try to talk about it, and I was like, can y'all, that they can't give you a good breakdown of what's going on. What time is it? How much time do I have? Let me see if I can find something that is social media friendly. I think this one is the most social friendly.
You want a straightforward path to your goals. The real world has other plans. But with Merrill, the bull has your back, and you get a new perspective on your whole financial life.
Let's try this. 22 minutes. All right. This is one of the videos. Give you some insight to, like I said, and I can answer all your questions if you have questions, but this video will give you some insight into what it looks like on the ground. This is what it looks like on the ground.
This is war without any rules, without any morality. In the current situation, we are seeing a progressive catastrophic situation unfolding. Things will get worse.
Things are going upside down. It's kind of endless suffering.
If the trajectory continues like that, we will find ourselves in a very difficult situation.
We are headed into the outskirts of Khartoum, Sudan, which is one of the largest cities in Africa. And right now the city is torn between two warring forces in one of the most devastating wars in the world. Since April 2023, as many as 150,000 Sudanese have been killed. And some 10 million have been forced from their homes, according to the UN. Now, with no end to the fighting in sight, Sudan is teetering on the edge of a famine that could kill hundreds of thousands.
They say one step at a time, but think one step ahead. Watch your step. Step it out. We say take your next step with a bullet.
We gotta have commercials.
Your whole
because I don't have
financial
it
picture
down.
and path forward, all with Merrill.
And is facing a potential genocide that international aid agencies say may already be happening. Since the war erupted, Sudan has been closed to most international journalists until now. Wall Street Journal journalists, accompanied by Sudanese army officials, traveled to the front lines of the fight. Salam alaikum. This here is one of the very front lines.
And this side is safe. This side is dangerous.
You can see just the heavy destruction all around here. Bullet holes line almost every wall that we see. This is the toll of a year plus of war.
Controlling this area would have given RSF controlling all the western side of our forces sector. So you can imagine how difficult and how tough a battlefield has been.
The fighting began last year when two generals took their forces to war. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, commander of the Sudanese armed forces, and General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemedti, commander of the Rapid Support Forces Militia, or RSF. Once allies, they came together in 2019 after massive protests to oust the 30-year despot Omar al-Bashir in a push for democracy. Then 2 years later, teamed up once again to overthrow the civilian-led transitional government of Sudan. By 2023, their tense struggle for shared power finally resulted in an all-out war. Now, as the Sudanese army has taken control of more territory around Khartoum, they are unearthing countless horrors. So this is the National Broadcasting and Radio Center for Sudan. This was a central point for the RSF to control. And now it's...
Understand something. When you look at those pictures, what do all the people with the guns have in common? When you look at those pictures, when we talk about patriarchy and all that, when you look at the picture who the civilians and women are caught in the middle of, I want you to remember the images of everybody you saw with guns.
completely destroyed.
They tortured them here.
So the soldiers here are telling us that this room was used as a prison and torture center. We're seeing sorts of tools used to restrain people. There's bedding, even women's bras on the ground. It's clear that this is a place where some terrible things have happened. Mohammed Malik Ibrahim was one of the prisoners at the broadcast center. The RSF accused him of being a Sudanese soldier.
مسكونا اليوم الأول بيدنا طلعونا برا قال لنا تمشي تجيبوا مويه من البحر طلعوا معانا 3 أنفار في البحر ضربوهم قدامنا كده ضربوهم ورموهم في البحر 3 أنفار ده أول يوم أنا هناك ده أول ضرب كده كان بمسامير يعني الناس كل شيء عنده سكين لحد المهم بيجي ماشي والحراسة عمل كده محل ما يلاقيك بس بيضربك.
Malik says he was eventually released because of family connections. But many others weren't as lucky.
They used this place like a gallows for hanging people and killing them here.
On the top here is some makeshift crude pipe tied together. And below they dug this hole so that they could knock out the chair to hang people here. The Sudanese armed forces said when they discovered it, they also discovered a mass grave nearby. This used to be a soccer pitch. There's so many spots like this all around the city that have been transformed by the intense violence that has happened here.
You want a straightforward path to your goals. The real world has other plans. But with Merrill, the bull has your back. And you get a new perspective on your whole financial life.
The RSF has denied attacking civilians around Khartoum. The U.S. has said both sides in the conflict are guilty of war crimes. The RSF is accused of ethnic cleansing, and aid groups say the military has blocked humanitarian aid from reaching areas controlled by the RSF. Around Khartoum, the city is still deeply divided. While the Sudanese military has spent months pushing into Omdurman, one of the 3 cities that makes up Greater Khartoum, central Khartoum is still tightly held by RSF forces. Now the majority of the fighting comes in the form of random artillery, mortar attacks, and kamikaze drones. And civilians are caught in the crossfire.
This is an emergency area where we accept injured patients. This is one of the victims of the last shelling on Friday. The injury to his pelvis, this is the injury. Sharp nail, is a huge wound here. He lost 2 of his friends of his age, died immediately. I will show another patient. Her name is Iman. She's a victim of the Friday bombing. She was at home. The bombing happened, had brain injury, and she has her brother died. 14 years old.
How often do you see injuries like this?
Very often. Every day, every time, day and night. For us, today is a normal day.
So right now we're at the Al Now Hospital. The main hospital in the city has been destroyed. So this tiny center is now being overwhelmed with cases. The wards here are packed with people. The doctors are saying that there's just not that much that they can do. They're totally overwhelmed.
Bombing is coming every 2-3 days, sometimes every day.
All civilians?
All civilians.
This hospital is filled with people suffering from shrapnel wounds, from artillery strikes that have happened. The shelling is just totally random around the city.
Small kid, his name is Moayed, 3 years old. He has now bilateral fracture femur and bilateral fracture of the lower limb, sharp nail inside the abdomen. His older brother died the last Friday, about a week here. Right.
Sorry, their other child died a week before?
The same accident. Her older child, 7 years old, died. Just the same situation, sitting at their home, shelling and bombing.
As we left the hospital, the family had just identified a young man who had died.
This is war from the militia, is without any rules, without any morality. They are just killing people for nothing. You saw victims yourself. They are not soldiers, they are not armed, they are kids.
This war has led to a level of food insecurity not seen in decades. According to a group of UN and major relief agencies, around 250,000 children could soon be on the verge of death. At the Port Sudan Pediatric Hospital, the risk is clear.
This is the last line of defense before children die. We have about 730,000 severely malnourished children. And we are quite concerned that the situation is really getting worse and worse as we go. What is needed now and what we are able to provide is not really matching. Over 10 million people displaced in Sudan, the highest in the whole world currently. In this world, we have said many times never again. Now, as you can see, the situation is quite concerning.
You want a straightforward path to your goals. The real world has other plans. But with Merrill, the bull has your back. And you get a new perspective on your whole financial life.
As the fighting rages around the country, thousands continue to flee their homes. So this is a transit point. This is the first point that people are outside of the RSF militia control and inside the Sudanese Armed Forces control. People we're talking to have spent all of their money and many, many hours crossing the front lines to be able to get away from the fighting. Brothers Zain and Farah are from a village under RSF control.
We have decided to leave our own house because we are no longer safe. My brother is just suffering a lot, and I have no means of help anymore.
Farah was recently arrested when RSF soldiers say they found a picture of a Sudanese soldier on his phone.
فكوني اقدر اموت خلاص. يا قلت لقيت اخوي قاعد في 20 يوم انا قاعد معهم 20 يوم. نزل عيان عنده سكر وكان موضع المويه. انا بقيت بشرب البول بتاعي فترة 3 يوم. زمان جيت مارك فكوني شالوا مني 50,000. It's difficult to describe how horrible the situation is. They arrest people, they torture people. We're heading to another place where I can meet my uncle in taking my brother to the hospital. Things are going upside down. Day and night we pray to survive for the next day. But we're going to work harder even to maintain a good life. For ourselves and for the rest of the family.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it for tonight. That's it. You have a great night. Maybe I said